Hi guys, I'm Berlyn, and if this is your first time in my channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a video. Yes, you, and you. In this video, I will talk to you guys about a somewhat sensitive subject. Some videos that talk about this topic end up being blocked. But why? Do they have anything to hide? Is the earth really flat and for that reason they censor these videos? I have searched some stuff about the Flat Earth Society, and let me tell you that it's very logical how they think. And like always, I wanted to associate this with the Bible. I wanted to see what the Bible says about how God created the earth, how God describes the earth in the Bible. The first thing is that when people think of the flat earth, they think about this. And this is not the flat earth. This is a flat earth. As you can see, the North Pole is in the center with the continents surrounding it and Antarctica around the earth, serving as an ice wall that stops the waters from falling, holding back the water. Practically take the globe and open it and you have this shape of the flat earth, a circle, a flat circle. Basically, if I'm in Miami and I want to go to Spain, it's the same route. We do not realize if we're living in a spherical earth or in a flat earth because it's the same. It would feel the same. The first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is gravity. So gravity is not yet confirmed by science. Gravity is not proven by science. Therefore, it's a theory, not a law. And for science, a theory is valid and useful until proven otherwise, or until a better one is found. Now let's talk about the curvature of the earth. According to mathematical calculations, at an altitude of 10,000 meters, we can see slightly the curvature of the earth. If you go up more than 10,000 meters, let's say 15 or 20,000 meters, you are gonna see the curvature of the earth. At that point, it's very visible. So now I want to show you this video of a camera that was thrown to space and it went up 34,000 meters. So the crazy thing here is that this camera, it's 34,000 meters high and we cannot see the curvature of the earth. There's no curvature at all. And remember that at an altitude of 15,000 meters, the curvature of the earth is supposed to be visible already. So this camera went up 19,000 meters more and there's no curvature at all. And if you see in other type of videos, the curvature of the earth is because they're using the fish eye effect on the camera lens, as you can see in this next video. You can see that these people are about to throw this camera into space also. But the crazy thing here is that you can see a slight curvature on the grass. And that's impossible because you cannot see the curvature of the earth at an altitude of 0. This is an example of the fish eye effect on a camera lens. And you can appreciate more this effect. As you can see here, when they release a camera, the earth is completely round. And it's just so crazy how it looks because it's obvious that they're using a fish eye effect. And for that reason, when the camera was already in space, the earth was completely round. Another point that I want to talk about is the mechanics of fluids. How would the waters magically adhere to the globe? The water does not bend. If you put the water in a cup, no matter the shape of the cup, the water, it's always gonna stay flat. It's never gonna curve or adhere to the cup's shape. And I remember thinking this when I was little, and the excuse that I found for that, it was that God makes everything possible. And that's right, God makes everything possible. And He can obviously just make the waters adhere to the earth, to the globe. But remember that God is the Almighty, and He explains it in His Word, in the Bible. He makes everything with logic, with measurements. But Satan has been in charge of distorting the science that God has created. In fact, I already speak of something like this in another video called Is Science Lying to Us? When I recorded that video, I believed that the earth was round. And I saw something in the Bible in Genesis. It says that the sun was created in the 4th day and the plants were created in the 3rd day. And one theory that science has is that the sun was created first and then the earth. But God says in His Word in the Bible that He created the earth and the plants before the sun. And also with Adam and Eve, since I was little, they will always say that we come from monkeys. But in the Bible says that the first man was Adam. So like always, I wanted to investigate in the Bible. I wanted to know what the Bible says. And I found a lot of things in the Bible that proves that the earth is flat. So let's go to Joshua 10:12. In this passage, God clearly says that the sun and the moon move, not the earth. On the day the Lord gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon." So the sun stood still and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. Here Joshua asked God for time and said, "Sun, hold right there, and you, moon, stop." But how is this possible? If the sun doesn't move, how is he telling the sun to stop if the sun is still? If the sun doesn't move according to science, the science of man, not the science of God. And if you ask yourselves, how does the sun and the moon work in a flat earth? Well, the sun and the moon are closer than we believe, and the sun is not that big. Well, the flat earth is a flat circle, and the sun and the moon are on the earth turning. In this video, you can see that there's a shadow under the sun. It's the shadow of the sun, and this would be impossible since the sun, according to science, is approximately 150 million kilometers away from the earth. This shadow under the sun would only be possible if the sun was on top of the earth. If the sun was that far, the shadow will appear on the other side of the world, not right under it. So this means that the sun is on top of the earth, rotating, and it's smaller. And one thing that probably you're asking yourselves, and I ask myself too, is what is the point of the governments trying to make us believe that the earth is round? Well, this starts with Copernicus. Well, Copernicus was a Catholic canon who formulated a model of the universe that placed the sun rather than the earth at the center of the universe. And the very important thing here is that he was a Catholic canon. This means that he belonged to a religious order. And this is very important because, as we all know, the Vatican is in Rome. One thing that I want to tell you here is that the Sabbath, the seventh day, the day that God tells us to rest on, which is the seventh day, it's not Sunday, it's Saturday. But the Romans changed this to Sunday. God says in his word, 6 days you will work, and on the seventh day you will rest. And this seventh day, it's Saturday. But the Romans changed this day to Sunday, and a little later the Catholic Church changed it to Sunday also. Constantine decreed that Sunday was the Sabbath, and it was a civil crime for those who not keep Sunday. The law given by the Emperor of the Romans, Constantine, on March 7, 321 after Christ was as follows: to let all judges rest, the plebe of cities and trades of all arts on the venerable day of the sun. This is something very important because the god of the Romans was the sun. They called this god the god Invictus, which means the undefeated god. The sun was their god, and that's why they changed the Sabbath to Sunday. As the word says it, Sunday, Sunday. After that, the Catholic Church said that we had to worship on Sunday instead of Saturday because we were Christians and not Jews. And that doesn't make sense because if Jews rest on Saturday, it's because God gave them that commandment. God told them to rest on Saturday because it was the Sabbath. And also Christ rested on Saturday. Why would we as Christians rest on Sunday if we follow Christ and he also rested on Saturday? Why don't we do the same thing that he does? And the people who are keeping Sunday are following false doctrines, pagan doctrines of the Romans. People who are resting on Sunday, who are worshiping God on Sunday, they're not worshiping God. They're worshiping the sun. They're worshiping a false god. It's idolatry without them knowing. That's why we have to read the Bible and not just listen. If a person tells us that something is right, we have to make sure that it's right. That's why in this video I wanted to talk to you guys about this, but I don't want you to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna listen to what Berlyn said and just believe her. I want you to read the Bible and figure it out yourself. This is what I found in the Bible, so I want you to find it too. Anyways, going back to Copernicus, it is very important to know this because, like I said before, Copernicus formulated the model of the solar system. And it is necessary to take into account that he was part of a religious order, which was the Catholic Church. I'm not trying to criticize any religion because I don't belong to any religion. I'm just telling you this because this connects with the Romans and with him being in a religious order. And we know that the Catholic Church, that the Pope has a lot of influence in the government. So it's very important that he was in a religious order and that he formulated the model of the solar system and that they changed Saturday to Sunday, worshiping the sun. And in the solar system, we see the sun at the center as a god. So that's why I mentioned this. Everyone who's worshiping on Sunday, they're worshiping a false god. They're worshiping the sun instead of God. So Catholics, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Christians of all denominations, all of them who are worshiping on Sunday. And Copernicus, influenced by the church and influenced by Rome, said that the sun was at the center and that we rotate around the sun and that the moon rotates around us and that we also rotate. So it's just something really crazy going on right there. Really crazy. It's crazy. And I want to mention something. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but it's a say that we say in Mexico. We always say the world does not revolve around you. The world does not rotate around you. You tell this to a person every time that person feels really important. They feel that the world is rotating around them, you know? And it's crazy because you're basically telling this person, don't feel that important. So this means that the sun is that important, that the sun is everything. And also how everyone always lives with this fear of the sun dying, and if the sun is not here, we're all gonna die. And it's not true, because the sun was created in the 4th day and the plants were already there, so obviously the plants didn't have to grow with the sun. We do not depend on the sun, we depend on God. And the next thing that I want to tell you, it's about the book of Enoch. I already did a video talking about this book, and something very important is that the book wasn't accepted by the church as canonical. They exclude this book from the Bible, but why? Why did they exclude this book from the Bible if Enoch was a prophet of God? Well, the interesting thing is because the book of Enoch talks about the flat earth. It specifies that the earth is flat. I remember when I first read this book, I didn't understand it at all. I was reading it and I got lost. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is too complicated. What is this? Because as I was reading and while he was explaining how the earth is, in my head was picture the globe. So I was like, what? I didn't understand. But now that I know this and I go back to the book, I'm like, yes, I get it. Yes. And when I realized about the flat earth, it scared me. I was afraid that I lived lied to my whole life. I was just shocked that the earth that I was standing in wasn't the earth I believed I was standing in. And I want to read you chapter 17 from the book of Enoch. And before reading you this chapter, I want you to picture the flat earth, because you're gonna understand it if you picture the flat earth and not the globe. So remember, the flat earth is the North Pole in the center with the continents surrounding it and the Antarctica that serves as a wall of ice stopping the water. So let's read chapter 17 from the book of Enoch. And I came to a river of fire in which the fire flows like water and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers and came to the great river and to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place whence all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the deep. Listen again. And I came to a river of fire in which the fire flows like water and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. So what's the biggest sea, the biggest ocean here on earth? The Pacific Ocean. So he's talking about the Pacific Ocean. And it says, I came to a river of fire whose fire runs like water and flows into the great sea next to the west. When I read this, I started thinking, I was like, what river of fire is he talking about? What river of fire flows like water and flows into the Pacific Ocean? And while I was thinking that, told me what river Enoch was talking about. And I was like, yes, I get it. Well, I live in California, and here in California, the San Andreas Fault is very famous, right? And the San Andreas Fault belongs to the Ring of Fire. It's part of the Ring of Fire. And the River of Fire is just basically surrounding the Pacific Ocean. So let's read this part. And I came to a river of fire in which the fire flows like water and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west, which is the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. And it says, I saw the great rivers and came to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. When I read this, it gave me chills. Listen to this. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place where all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth and the mouth of the deep. He went and arrived at this place where no flesh has arrived, and saw the great mountains of winter. He arrived to Antarctica, where the great mountains of ice are, the wall where all the water stops. He says where all the waters flow where they end until there. They don't go anywhere else. That's where they stop. And in chapter 18, he mentions the cornerstone of the earth. He says, I saw the treasures of the wind, and I saw with them that he has adorned all the creation and foundation of the earth. And I also saw the cornerstone of the earth. The cornerstone of the earth symbolically is Christ. If this is a flat earth, there is a stone that is holding us. And something very important that I want to mention, guys, it's something that it's found in the Bible. In Isaiah 66:1. Here it's mentioned that the earth, it's God's footstool. So I remember before knowing this, before knowing that the earth is flat, my mom and I used to think that it would be very hard for God to have a round footstool because it would be very uncomfortable. So now it makes sense, because if the earth is flat, it's easy for him to have it as a footstool. And also another thing is about when Christ comes to the earth the second time. So on the Bible it says, and every eye will see him. Before knowing all of this, I used to think a lot, if he comes this way, how are the people from the other side of the world gonna see him? And also I remember thinking that probably when he comes, he's gonna open the earth. You know, with all the earthquakes and everything, probably the earth is gonna open up, and that's how every eye will see him. But after knowing all of this, it just makes sense that if the earth is flat and he comes down, every eye can see him. This just makes me realize that the church, influenced by the Romans and their false gods, made us believe this lie that we rotate around the sun when it's actually the sun who rotates on top of us. And it says this at Joshua 10:12. They make us feel that we are purposeless, that we are a cosmic accident, that we are a tiny piece of trash compared to the whole universe. When in reality, we are the center of the universe. We are God's creation. We are his purpose. And man, influenced by Satan, distorting science, make us feel that we are not important to the universe. Now with the book of Enoch, where he talks about the Antarctica, where no human being has arrived. Obviously, we know there's people who have been to the Antarctica, but they don't let you discover the whole place by yourself. And people who have traveled around the world at once, they've only made it from east to west or from west to east, but never from north to south or from south to north. And if you realize, on a flat map, on a flat earth, we can travel around the world and believe that we are traveling around the world at once, but in reality we're just circumnavigating. But why we can't travel around the world from north to south at once? Easy, because you stop at Antarctica. Antarctica is at the shore, stopping the water. And a very curious fact is that Antarctica, it's the highest continent compared to the other continents. Think of it as a bowl where you serve yourself cereal. When you serve yourself cereal, you're obviously not gonna put a lot of milk because it's gonna spill. So you always put the milk at a certain level, leaving the ends higher, so in that way it won't spill. So it's the same thing with Antarctica. It's more elevated compared to other continents. Another curious fact is that the symbol of the United Nations is the flat earth. The flat earth map, it's the symbol of the United Nations. I don't think that's a coincidence. On December 1st of 1959, the 12 active United Nations countries signed a treaty banning expeditions to Antarctica. And mysteriously, at the same time, NASA was founded on October 1st of 1958. And a year after the foundation, they banned expeditions to the Antarctica. They didn't let people not only go, but also seeing it. But Berlyn, if I go on Google, I can look for Antarctica pictures and they're gonna show it to me. Or also I can go to Antarctica. Well, they're only gonna let you see what they want you to see, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this. This is an application. It's Google Earth, and I have another one which is 3D Earth. And there's something very crazy about this, because I remember in 2013 they discovered a patch on Antarctica on the application of Google Earth. And I remember in 2013 everyone was saying that there was another world under the earth that the government was trying to hide from us. So for this video I downloaded those two apps because I wanted to see if the patch was still there. Okay, so let's go to the first application, which is 3D Earth. When I got into this application, I noticed something. So if you want to see a country, you have to just zoom into the country. If I I center the country a certain way and I zoom in it, it's gonna take me to where I center it. So let's say if I center Mexico and I zoom into Mexico, it's gonna take me to where I center it. And if I center this part of Mexico and I zoom in it, it's gonna stay right where I center it. You can see this example in other countries. Let's go to India. I center India and it's gonna keep India center. Let's go to Saudi Arabia. I center Saudi Arabia, I zoom in it, and it's gonna leave me where I center it. If I wanna go to Israel, I center Israel, I zoom in it, and it's going to leave it where I center it. So I tried to do this in Antarctica and it didn't let me. So as you can see, I center Antarctica. And if I zoom into Antarctica, it's going to take me right to the end of Antarctica. But I want the app to leave Antarctica where I center it. But instead of doing that, like it did with all the other countries, it just took me to the shore. If I travel with my finger around the earth, it lets me go from one side to another, but it doesn't let me go down into Antarctica. So if you can see, I have Antarctica here. And then I can go to this part of the world and just travel around it and go to one country and another country and just travel around it, right? But one crazy thing is that if I go to Antarctica and I zoom in it, it's going to take me to the shore. You see, it doesn't let me go down. It just lets me go to the sides, but not down. But why? What is in the center that they're hiding? Or is there no center? Because obviously the Antarctica is extended around the world and not under the globe. That's why they always send me to the shore, because it's the only thing that exists, the shore. So after this, I went to the other application, which is Google Earth, and I try it over there. And it lets me, I center the Antarctica and it lets me travel around the Antarctica and everything. But one interesting thing is that there's a patch. There's a patch in the Antarctica, just in the center. Tell me what's in there. What are they patching? And another thing is that if you go to the shore of the Antarctica and you zoom in all the way, you can clearly see the mountains, you can clearly see the rocks, the snow. But if you zoom into the patch, there's nothing to see. It's just clear white. And if you go to the end of the patch, it has a lot of pixels. Tell me why they put a lot of pixels at the end of the circle. I mean, not even Area 51 has pixels. Maybe you're thinking about all the live broadcasts that NASA does in space. One thing is that I don't know if they've gone to space. I don't think so. I don't think they've been to the moon. And there's a lot of people who don't think they've been to the moon. And those people believe in the globe, but they don't believe that they went to the moon. And you can see this in movies. There's a movie in Hollywood called Gravity, and there's plenty other movies. All the Marvel movies, they have all these space shots. And obviously the actors didn't go to space to film these movies, right? It was all with green screen and computers. Also, we know the astronauts, they practice in these water tanks to go to space. There's also these airplanes, or some astronauts have practiced there to feel the sensation of gravity in space. These planes take off normally like a commercial flight. The plane catches speed first, then they go all the way up until they run out of speed at the top. And when that happens, they have this levitation effect that lasts about 30 seconds. This works because when you see videos of the space station and they're playing around, they can simply be on one of these planes. And in conclusion, the sun is not at the center of the universe. We're at the center of the universe because we are the creation of God. We are the purpose of God. We are God's creation, and He's watching us all the time from His throne. We're His footstool. And I want to tell you guys that I based myself in the Bible, in God, in the Word of God, because He created all of this, I'm going to believe God first than any other human. No matter how many research you made, you're never going to understand how God created the world. There's always going to be something. We know just a tiny bit. And the Bible specifies that the earth is flat. And I'm going to read to you those verses. Job 26:10. He has inscribed a circle on the surface of the waters, at the boundary of light and darkness. Isaiah 40:22. God sits above the circle of the earth. The people below seem like grasshoppers to Him. He spreads out the heavens like a curtain and makes His tent from them. In these two verses, we can clearly see that a circle is mentioned. If the earth was round, that would be a sphere. If the earth is flat, it would be a circle. Daniel 4:11. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Here he says that the tree grew so high that it reached the sky, and it was visible to the ends of the earth. This would only be possible if the earth is flat. If it was round, the people on the other side would not be able to see the tree. And it clearly said that it was visible to the ends of the earth. Job 38:8-11. Who enclosed the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? For I locked it behind barred gates, limiting its shores. I said, this far and no farther will you eat. Here your proud waves must stop. Job 9:9. Who make the Bear, Orion, and the Pleiades, and encloses south? Here he says very clearly that God locked up the sea and put gates on him, locked the sea with Antarctica. And in Job 9:9, God says that He locked up the south. And which is the south? Antarctica is the south. So He locked everything around the earth. Job 37:18. Can you, like Him, spread out the firmament, hard as a cast metal mirror? This means that the firmament is transparent in the ozone layer. And there is also something that we must take into account. Let's see the definition of firmament. The firmament is the vast solid dome created by God on the second day. The vast solid dome. A dome is an architectural element similar to the hollow upper half of a square. This is very important because here we can see that God put the firmament, and the firmament is a dome, and a dome is something semi-spherical, and that the dome is an upper half of a sphere. So the dome is semi-spherical. That means that the ozone layer is semi-spherical, and that would only work if the earth is flat. Because if it was spherical, the dome would not cover the whole earth, but only half of the earth, because the dome is semi-spherical. Genesis 1:16. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. There's something very interesting here. God says that He made the sun and the moon and the stars. God didn't mention that the sun was a star. It is very clear here. He's telling us that the sun is not a star. The sun is the sun, the moon is the moon, and there are the stars. Psalms 104:5. He set the earth on its foundations. It can never be moved. In this verse, God makes it very clear that the earth does not move. We're not moving around the sun. Job 38:6. What supports its foundations and who laid its cornerstone? Here he's talking about the cornerstone that symbolically is Christ. And in this image, you can see how that stone would be seen, and you can see that there are columns on the bottom. And in the book of Enoch, when Enoch travels to the deeps of the earth, he mentions these columns, and he sees the abyss and all this fire that is hell. Revelation 6:13. And the stars in the sky fell to earth as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. These are one of the things that would happen in the end of the world. As we can see it, it says that the stars from the sky will fall on the earth, and if that happens, this would be very tragic, since the stars, according to science, as science has painted them to us, are gigantic compared to the earth. If one of them fall into the earth, we would never feel it. They would just make us a slime instantly. But here once again, we can see something different. God says in the Bible that He placed the stars in the firmament. So the stars are smaller than the sun. So if the stars are going to fall into the earth, obviously they're going to make a disaster, because they're big enough to make a disaster, but they're not bigger than the earth. They're not bigger than the sun. The sun is bigger than the stars, and they're placed on the firmament, on the dome. In fact, there's many people who say that when God mentions this in the Bible, he's not referring to stars but to angels or other beings who fall to earth, because for them the stars have no understanding. But this is incorrect, since in the book of Enoch sees something burning in hell, and he asks the angel what that is, and the angel says to him that that star is in jail because hell is a prison. And the angel tells Enoch that this star is there because the star didn't arrive at its destination at the right time. So the star was sent to jail. So we can see that the stars obey orders and they have understanding. Revelation 9:1-2. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was giving the key to the shaft of the abyss. Here he's saying that the star fell on earth and opened the pit of the abyss. And in the book of Enoch, he mentions that one of threw the demons into hell and that the entrance was in the desert. This means that, as you can see in this image, the abyss, hell, is right below the earth after the columns. Now with this, tell me if you think that the earth is flat or spherical. I just made this video to inform you of what I learned, and if you want to believe that the earth is round, it's fine. We can all believe different stuff. I didn't make this video to force you to believe that the earth is flat. I just came here to inform you and to tell you what I've learned in these months. And when I started searching for the Flat Earth Society and why they think the earth was flat, I didn't judge them. I was open to it. I was like, why do they believe this? I want to know why. And I end up believing because I associated this with God. And the most important thing, the sun, what Rome created. And well, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you like it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And also don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!